Everybody, we're back for a barn burner tonight, episode 2 of the Cousins Corner. We're looking forward to getting this thing started, and we got my cousins on, again, and we're going to make this happen. We got some really good topics tonight. We're going to be talking about a pastor out somewhere who extracurricular activities with a former MLB guy, and he just had to take some extracurricular activities, extra privileges with the man's wife. Also, we're going to be talking about tonight bonnets and house shoes out in public. Would you do it? Should it be done? And how do you feel when you see it? Cousin.
Yeah.
Welcome. Yes, sir. Man, I'm interested. I'm excited. Let me say it that way about doing these, and we got some good topics tonight. We got another cousin. She's gonna be hopping on a little bit. We may have some a special guest or something like that. And birds of a feather, they flock together. Whatever that so seems to mean, but yes, it is. I believe that's what it could be. So I would like to hop in tonight with topic number 1. Man, so let me look at this story for you. So there's a former MLB player suing a pastor over an alleged affair with his wife. He's trying to get the pastor for $6 million. $6 million. Is that excessive? Is he saying that's what his wife is worth? Or I'm just, $6 million, at some point, maybe they're just going to cut a deal.
Well, my feelings about that, it's going to be a certain way, because, if the man was broke, he wouldn't be trying to get that.
Oh.
You see, his wife would have just gave it to a broke brother, and he just would have had a wife that gave it up.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? And he wouldn't be pursuing a broke brother. He want to pursue this pastor, and it's not really behind, it's behind the fact that the pastor probably have that type of money that he can get. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't think his motives are totally, correct. Because, if he's that upset about it, how come he ain't beating the pastor up? How come he ain't, you know what I'm saying?
Well, some people, they think taking people to court is a better option than the fisticuffs. And this guy who's suing his former pastor and the current CEO of a counseling firm. So to get deeper into it, I think there's some more damages being done because maybe somebody was going to counseling, seeking for help.
Okay.
With addiction, and that's what he did.
Well, I'm saying I can kind of understand that, but look at the flip side too. And I'm not defending the pastor because he should have had the discipline not to go there. But at the same time, who's to say she didn't seduce him and use that therapy as a way to pick at his issues?
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of ways to look at that. And I hate how they always, just because he's a pastor, he's human first. He's fallible. He can fall into any sin anybody else could fall into. He can do just what the next person does, but because he was a pastor. Listen, yes. There's a whole lot of folks pastoring that are ex-pimps, that are ex-drug addicts, ex-thieves, ex-this, ex-that, and it only takes like somebody that's been on crack a lot of years and they've been delivered for 10 years. A lot of times it only takes one little emotional thing to push that person right back into that drug habit.
That's true now.
So I'm not defending the pastor because I don't know the situation. But I do know that I have been in counseling with women, and then later on, they admitted to me that their whole objective was to try to take me down.
Well, before I get into that, I want to introduce a special guest we have on here. She's not a cousin, but she is a pastor. I'd like to introduce everybody on the airways. This is she has a podcast called The Dash with Matrilla. She's on Facebook. You can catch her on her Facebook page, ministering on Sundays at 10 a.m. With her church, with her ministry. And she also has a business that she could tell you about where she does therapeutic massages for healing. I'd like to introduce everybody to Mrs. Matrilla Hall. How you doing?
Hello, everybody.
All right, how you doing?
So we have two pastors here talking about pastors taking the extra dip. I mean, that pastor spending some extra time laying some hands to try to help do some healing. And now we got somebody who's in the healing, who's a pastor, and we have a pastor who's in the healing. So from y'all's perspectives, my perspective is, I think, you know, there's two sides of this, right? Two sides. Yes, maybe she shouldn't have opened her legs that wide in the front row if that's what happened. From my understanding, I guess maybe she was getting some counseling and he just gave some extra counseling. No extra charge, of course. But what do y'all think about that situation? And so you're saying you don't defend the guy, but you understand.
I didn't say I understand, because where I am in my ministry, I'm like Paul, I make my body a slave. I'm not gonna allow that to happen. But I do know of many stories, and I've been in ministry since I was very, very young.
Well,
and I was not as mature as I am now, and as disciplined as I am now.
Well,
so I've made some mistakes, and I've gotten trapped off by some of the people I tried to help. I had that Captain Save-A-Hole type of personality.
Oh yeah.
And I have gotten myself in trouble, and I had to learn some things through the College of Hard Knocks in ministry to get to where I am now. So I'm not going to defend the pastor, but I do understand how a pastor can fall into diverse temptations.
I don't know. I know he's just a human. He had a business. He was a pastor and had a business. I think that's an extra level of something for a restraint. Right?
So can I jump in? So I'll just say this because I kind of came in, you guys were already talking about it. And I do agree with Jeff that it's a very thin line, and we can either, you never know which side you're going to fall onto, and it does require restraint. But I think sometimes when it comes to pastoring, and I'm not trying to take off anybody either, but when it comes to being a pastor, you're in a position where so many things come your way, and a lot of pastors have not learned that restraint. They've not learned that level of maturity yet. So sometimes people forget that there's still people, and that we're still people, and we're not God, and we don't walk. There are some people who think their feet don't touch the ground, but they do. But at the same time, we have to remember there are a lot of people in the Bible who fell into these same things. If you take a look at King David, prime example, but he still knew how to pray. He still knew how to call on the Lord, all of those things. But we have to remember there's still people. And does it make it right? No. But sometimes I think it's a little bit harsh when it comes to those things, because you still put the label of he's a pastor, he should know. Well, just as a man, he should know, not just because he's a pastor, but he's a man, he should know. She's a woman, she should have known. But at the same time, I agree with Jeff. It's about restraint, and we have to learn it. And sometimes it's a long process for some people. eating a chocolate cookie when you're not supposed to is having restraints. And some people can't even do that. You can't defeat a cookie.
Now, now I could see if he was new at pastoring, and this is the first time he's up in front, and you know how a lot of women sit up in front and they wear the skirts up to the thighs and they forget to bring their scarf in their purse, and then they get so relaxed they get up and they sit back down and they're like, man, this is better than pay-per-view. But
let me take it a little further there, because you bringing that front row, showing your stuff, which I done had happen to me a million times. That can't get me. But this situation that you're talking about was it was two people constantly talking. You understand? It was a bond being formed.
Yes.
Because everything starts from conversation. Okay? Every relationship starts that way. And you had two human beings and she was sharing probably stuff. Oh, my husband neglects me here and he doesn't do this. And then the pastor, I'm not saying first of all, a lot of these pastors that counsel, they don't have degrees in counseling. Right. They're people that will talk to somebody to try to help them. They don't know all the roadblocks and the stops, and they haven't been trained, most of them, to even, get into that area of ministry. So a lot of them are just people talking. And that's how you can get trapped off, man, because you got people that are cunning. Now, I'm not saying that woman did that. She could have been the weaker one and he could have been the cunning one, but she could have been the snake. And this was her plan all along, because I've counseled people that played that manipulation game, that used all of those things and been around me long enough to learn my weaknesses. So I'm just saying, you're not taking all that into account because you're not a pastor. So you don't want to defend any of them. Like you should be holier than thou and make no mistakes and go to hell if you do.
But then that makes you perfect. If you do that, that makes you a perfect person.
That's what I'm saying.
There aren't any perfect people. And I agree, some pastors do try to step into the counseling role, and they're not really counselors or don't have a degree, nor do they even pray before going into this counseling. So a lot of times they leave themselves wide open because they are the pastor or because they have this particular title. And I would go so far as to say a lot of pastors these days are not given enough reverence to the Lord when it comes to their positions, which leaves you wide open for things that you are not accustomed to and things that you have not been groomed in spiritually, and you leave yourself open. So when you leave yourself open, guess what you do? You expose yourself as being what you are, and that's a man or a woman, and exposure it's crazy. A lot of people, come into the ministry, whether they're pastors or deacons or whatever, but they don't take the time to cultivate the character and the behavior that they are supposed to have spiritually to be able to see these things. And it can happen to anybody, but it is about restraint, and it is about making sure that you, like Jeff said, that you're mature enough to know when to say when and when to step back. Even with the lady who's sitting at the front throwing her legs wide open, because there's a reason she's there doing that. She knows what she's doing. Yeah, so
that's what I was about to say. Speaking of wide open, but go ahead, Jeff.
No, I'm saying you got to remember, I've been pastoring from the West Coast to the East Coast. I was out in California, where how that flow is, right? And I've had them come in, legs wide open, or I come in, walk into church and they bent over the chair, call themselves praying with the booties up in the air and everything else, man. And you really have to be disciplined to, navigate through all the temptation. Yeah. And like I said, I had to grow to this. You understand? I had to learn through the college of hard knocks. I've fallen in ministry before. You understand? So that's why I can feel both sides of that, because times, put it this way, I was never really the snake in most of my fallings. I was the, I'm trying to really help and got caught up. You understand? Like, oh man, I remember I had a young lady came in and told me her uncle, was raping her. And I went and fought the uncle, everything, got so involved. And then I ended up, in a relationship with her and ended up marrying her. It was my first wife. And it was a disaster, and then found out the young lady, after marrying her uncle told me it was all a setup to trap me off. They all planned this, worked it, and knew my weaknesses and knew I was going to fall for that whole situation.
Did she ever mention it?
That marriage only lasted a year, man. I divorced after a year,
Before we go on, I want to introduce everybody to cousin from West Coast, AJ.
What's up, cousin?
Back, y'all. What's up, cousin?
What's going on?
Hey.
Hi.
Cousin, we have a special guest on. Matrilla, you spoke to her earlier today. She hopped on.
Hi, Matrilla.
How was the therapy?
Oh, I'm so sore. But I told them I want to make sure it's all manual therapy. And that's what I got.
Hey, I know a pastor who could have helped you out really good.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
They got healing hands.
Nah, you're wrong for that, cuz.
I'm just saying.
Bro.
That's not right, Matrilla. Y'all don't have healing hands?
Yeah.
Listen.
What do you do for a living?
Huh?
Never mind. So
listen, I've gotten to the point now. There's some people I just won't lay hands on.
Let me see what I can't see what y'all talk about.
I refuse to lay hands on.
You refuse?
I'll go and get my wife and tell her, you go pray for that one.
Oh wow.
Okay. I told you I done learned some stuff, man.
See, that's a whole nother episode. We've talked. We know a little bit, right, cousin? AJ from the West Coast.
Are we talking about the baseball player with the
Now we talking about the pastor and getting sued for all that money because he slept with somebody's wife.
Yeah, the baseball player guy.
Yeah.
So
are we saying that it's a viable case or it's not, or?
Well, besides, we just didn't call her Eve yet, but we're just trying to say it was somebody's fault, right? Because her husband, he just played baseball and he didn't make enough money for her.
Well, it was both of their faults.
So he got bored. She got bored because he didn't make enough money. He only made $100 million.
But I mean, the conversation is about whether or not he has a stand to sue, right? Or is it not?
If the person has that type of money, he has a stand. You understand what I'm saying? Cases are being new laws and new cases are being born every day, and
every day
he has an opportunity if the money's there. If the money ain't there, it's a waste of time.
All the money's there. The guy's a CEO of a big corporation out there.
Yeah. So he has a case. They'll find some kind of way. You get a good enough lawyer to be able to, put that thing together just right. I done seen it happen.
They obviously they're in litigation, so they have a case. Should the pastor be held accountable for anything though?
Well, he's a pastor. He's ordained. He seems like no matter what she's doing, he should be able to say, because from my understanding, she's supposed to have been in some type of counseling, and he kind of
they both were. They were marital counseling.
They both were in marital counseling.
They were in marital counseling.
So who was doing the counseling?
The pastor.
Yeah. He knew all her weaknesses. He knew all the spots to touch.
Yeah, I think that
right there on the neck right there, he knew that spot.
I think that the husband does have a legitimate case.
I think the pastor need to countersue for the husband marrying a whore.
But what does that have to do with him?
Think about it for a minute. He should put together a case
that
he was literally targeted by this husband and their wife.
But if you read the article, he wasn't. Not only did he supposedly counsel them in marital counseling, he became the president of the husband's charity, his organization, and stole money from him. And he manipulated.
So the pastor's foul.
He manipulated, situations so that he can spend time with the wife. Now, the wife doesn't get off easy. I mean, she has to take her part in that. But that's just like, if you are in a vulnerable state and you go for therapy and you're being taken advantage of, that has to go against not only morally that you're a pastor, but that has to go against all kind of ethics, I would think.
From my understanding, she did do her part.
Oh, of course. Yeah, she did her part.
What was her part?
Gave in. She slept with him. I mean, she had to be part of the scheme. I mean,
she had to be available. She made herself available.
I'm gonna tell you what happened there. Okay, through that marital counseling, she didn't want her husband no more, and she started looking at that pastor as the man she wanted. Okay.
Well, then at that point, that's when you divorce, or you, as a pastor, you say, I can't counsel you. It's just like if you go before a judge and you're related to the case, you have to recuse yourself from that situation. You can't You can't continue to counsel them and then recommend that they spend time apart, because that was his recommendation.
That's true.
Well, I'm saying, evidently, yes, you're right, but it's not that easy to walk away from what you like. It's easy to do that when it's not it's not your thing.
Well,
like I don't like licorice. You can't tempt me with that. You understand? But give me something that I like. That's hard to say no. That's a your position. You're held at a somewhat of a higher standard, and if that's your weakness, then that's what it is. But we can't excuse it. Women might not be his so-called weakness.
I'm talking about women because I don't know his past. I'm talking about this woman.
That woman might have been.
But that's what we're talking about.
Right.
I don't know how many other women, he's had, but we're talking about that woman.
And I'm not sure, but was her nickname Sunshine? I gotta finish reading the article, but
when he called his wife and said, "Put your mama on the phone," I ain't never coming home.
Never coming home.
and let me say this too. First of all, that pastor, I don't know how he looks. And he's married. Is he married? He's married, right?
I didn't see it. I don't know if he's married or not. Okay. They didn't say. The article didn't say.
But he might not have ever encountered a woman like that.
Well,
irregardless of whatever his past is, he should have been able to restrain himself or excuse himself from being a counselor and or working in the man's charity.
And you say that coming from where you come out of, but I'm telling you, as a man, and this particular man used to be a sex addict in my younger days.
Well,
if it's my drug of choice,
that has nothing to do
hard with to walk away from.
That has nothing to do with the fact that people get tempted. Women get tempted also.
AJ West Coast,
that's how she felt.
Women get tempted also. I mean, we're not animals. We have brains. We're human beings.
But you putting it all on the pastor, and I'm saying.
Well, no, I'm only putting it on the pastor because the case he's suing the pastor. He ain't suing his wife. So that's why.
And that's the other thing. How come is he divorcing the wife?
Yeah, he filed for divorce.
Okay, he filed for divorce.
Yeah,
he need to be suing her too.
She definitely has a part. She's just as equally responsible.
She's just as liable.
Yeah.
He's suing the pastor. It looks like, for his emotional depression and anxiety. So that's what he's suing for, basically. And they just go on with a lot of other rants and things about the money the pastor has capitalized on. But I do agree with AJ when you say that he's held at a higher standards. And that's what we were talking about, I think, before you actually came on. It's easier to say, and people typically will do that, put a pastor, they don't think they're putting them on a pedestal, but they really are putting them on a pedestal. And that's not where the pastor belongs. He belongs, typically, you know, people will say you're higher, but if you just take him away from being a pastor, she's a married woman. There's a standard for a married woman. There's a standard for a married man. There are standards across the board, but do people follow those standards? A lot of times they don't, and temptation can come, like you say, women are tempted, men are tempted, there are temptations on all sides, but it's one of those things, it's a human thing. When have you matured to say that I've matured to this level to tell you I can't do this with you, I can't do you. So apparently one or two things, like Jeff said, he encountered something he had not encountered before, and he probably hadn't prepared himself for it. And meaning he got so lax to the point, it's like, you know what, AJ, you know what, Jeff, I'm going to counsel you guys because I know you so well. So now the guards have come down, and I'm no longer praying that the Holy Spirit do the work for me. The Holy Spirit talked through me. And who's to say what kind of pastor he was? Because everybody who stands in the pulpit is not there for the right reason. Some people, even women and men, women come to church sometime and they'll see a pastor like Jeff and say, oh, you know what? This is my celebrity moment. This is my moment to shine. If I get with him, I'm somebody. I'm the first lady. I have this ranking. And in all actuality, the heart is wrong. So a lot of pastors are out here. They walk under the robe of pastoralship, but guess what? Their hearts are not there. They're walking around with a title. So, you know, we don't know exactly what type of pastor he's supposed to be, or, you know, even if he's a legitimate pastor for real, who knows?
He might have got ordained online.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing now, right?
Say that. I had somebody tell me that. She's like, you know, now I'm doing weddings. I was like, oh, I didn't know you were been a minister. She's like, oh, I got it online. They sent me my papers. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's good, but for some people, it's a business. For some people, there's no respect. And for some people, they never learn to actually mature in their walk. They get stifled and they stay here and they see the big shiny ball. And it's like, okay, I have this title. This is my stage, which some people call it. This is my stage. This is where I perform. This is where everybody sees me. So they're not really walking in the truth of what they say they were called to do. And again, there's a very thin line of walking in truth and falling in temptation. I mean, it's very thin for any of us.
Exactly, I agree.
Or not. So, but I can see him being sued for the depression and the anxiety. But if I would sue them both. Sue them both.
That's what I'm saying. He need to go after them both, but he's attacking the pastor because, first of all, he's a man, and that man took something from him, you know. So he wants to take something back from that man.
That might be part of it, but again, if you're in a vulnerable state and you're going to someone for help, and they're supposed to be counseling you on your situation, you cannot take advantage of that person. They're not only is it morally wrong, it's ethical. I mean, he's in whatever kind of pastor he claims to be, that's his position. Whatever religion he claims to have, that's his whatever, that's his position. And these people went to him for marital counseling, and his advice was to give her some space. So you can't do that. You can't do that. Now, whether it's a suable offense, I mean, we'll see what happens, but you cannot call yourself having people come and help you. You want to help and counsel people, and then you turn around and take advantage of them.
No, you're right. And I've seen a lot of pastors do that.
Yeah.
And end up taking the wife from, I done seen it too many times. They end up taking the wife from and marrying that woman, and building their ministries with that woman that they took from somebody else. I can give many stories, people I personally know that did that. And it was wrong. And you're right. It was wrong. But
it's wrong all day long.
It happens more often than you think. Me, I'm like a doctor. I'm gonna have my wife in there with me counseling.
And that's where it should be.
I'm not. I've learned not to do that on my own anymore.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah. So, I just come to that place where I don't want no nonsense. So I'm gonna keep the checks there. Keep me in check.
Yeah, I mean, in situations like this, I still always go back to King David, King David and Bathsheba. So
you saw something.
It's been, things are like this have been going on since the beginning of time, and they'll continue to go on. But I always tell people, you have to know that you're being led to go to someone for counseling, not just because at the end of the day, she could have had a hidden motive. I mean, who knows? All of them could have had a hidden motive for something. The husband maybe already knew something was taking place and just wanted to see it all play out. We don't know. But I do agree he should have had more. I don't know. It's so easy to say. He should have had more restraint. He should have had the ability or to say, I'm going to back away from this, but he didn't. Maybe he saw the money that possibly could come with her, or maybe he just, like what he liked as a man, and that doesn't make it right.
Yeah, I think all of that. Yeah, I think all of that's true. Yeah. The guy is a professional baseball player. They have the longest season in the sports. She's not home. He's not there. He saw something he liked, and the guy's obviously wealthy, and he saw an opportunity and he took advantage of it. So why not pay the consequences? I mean, he took advantage of a couple, and
the pastor could have had a longer season than the baseball player.
Cousin, you a comedian.
And it's sad because it's things like this that really keep people away from the truth and away from what they really need, because I think the world forgets that the devil knows the Bible better than anybody. So guess what? He is in the church as well. It doesn't keep him out of the church, but I think sometimes people, forget to really pray about what church they need to go to, who they need to talk to, and how they need to move. And if you're married, bring your wife into the counseling. If you're married, take your husband to pray and do all those things. But sometimes we wear the robe and say, oh, I'm the pastor, so, everybody should be okay with me doing X, Y, Z. But then there's a role that you need to learn how to function in. And if you don't learn how to function in it, you have things like this. And you end up with sick people that don't come to the hospital, they don't come in.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say though, you're comparing King David to a pastor. Have y'all ever seen that movie with Mel Brooks where the guy's going around saying, it's good to be the king? I think there's a difference between, there's a show, it's a comedy show, and Mel Brooks made it, and the guy's going around saying, it's good to be the king. So he had access to all these women, and because he was king, that was okay for him to be that way. But, I guess the pastor is not a king, and a king's not a pastor.
Well, it was not okay for King David to do it because King David actually killed the husband to have things up. So it was not okay. But I guess I used that for the grace part, but or how you can easily fall into something, just that simple. It was just a bath for Bathsheba, taking a bath, and it went from a bath in a whole nother section
to murder
So I was just using that just to kind of point to his even though he was king, he saw
something.
I wish I could tell some of my stories, but I put them to bed, okay? Because I've been through all of these scenarios, even, messing with somebody's wife, and all of that, and getting caught up and being blackmailed.
Well,
I told you.
That's a whole nother segment right there.
But my thing is this, all right? Many are called, fewer chosen, right?
Right.
You have a lot of people that are calling themselves pastors.
Oh.
That never were called by God.
Right.
And they're in the position.
Yeah.
And they're getting annihilated
yeah.
in the position. So, and then the world just accepts the fact that they call themselves pastors, and they say, well, they should be held at a higher standard, but you got idiots in the pulpit, you know, you got whores in the pulpit, you got, you know, all kinds of folks in the pulpit that are not supposed to be there. Okay, right. So you can't, I mean, I hate that it's all grouped in. You understand? I hate that because a pastor doesn't get a fair shot because they put it all together. That's like saying all white folks are bad. You know, that's how white folks look at black folks. You know, they're no good. Every black folk. You get what I'm saying? You're grouping everybody in, and that's what happens.
And,
you know?
But I do want to say some of my best friends are white.
Okay. All right. And if I took the thing, if I took the mindset that they all were bad people, I'm gonna say your best friends is bad.
Right.
You know.
But I agree with you, Jeff. It's one of those things when you look at, like Curtis was saying, there's a difference in King David and the pastor. Well, if you just take Peter, I mean, some people would say, but Peter didn't sleep with someone's wife. It doesn't, but what he did was still wrong. So it's almost like you take one thing and says, it's kind of like one sin is bigger than the other, or one sin is lesser than the other, but it's all the same. So even if he didn't sleep with her and he was embezzling money or whatever, it's still all clumped up into the same thing. So you still have to go back, which none of us can do. It's really between him and God, but it's the shame that you bring to the church that makes it look bad on all pastors when people are not taking the time to look at Jeff and study and watch and listen and say, what kind of teaching is he teaching? Is he living by what he's teaching? Is he doing the things that he's preaching? Right. So when you look at it, it's one of those things sometimes you have to say, okay, let me just watch and see, because something else could come out on the back end that no one was expecting. So, Peter's a good example. Peter's still sin, and guess what? God still brought him back in. So at the end of the day, like you say, it's the ones who chosen.
I want to give this point without telling too much of my business from the past. And notice this is a past. Hold
on.
I'm 54 years old, and I've been pastoring since I was 21.
Well,
so know the difference in a lot of years, okay?
A lot of years, cousin.
But I remember touching somebody's wife.
Well,
as a preacher.
Well,
and I remember, that her pulling away from him and clinging to me.
Well,
okay. But when I look back, I wish I could give that man back what I took from him. All right. Because the thing was, I didn't even realize the sanctity of marriage back then. I didn't realize the vows. I didn't realize, how God really looked at it. Well, now I do. But if it's left up to my cousin Curtis, he would hang me from back then, and I would never have a chance now.
Well, I am.
You understand what I'm saying?
I don't believe that.
I'm not that guy no more.
Huh?
And I wish I could give that man back what I took from him, but I can't. It's the same thing that it was a preacher that took my first wife from me.
Oh, wow.
And he can't give it back
to me.
That's kind of
I don't want her back, but he can't give her back.
Was that a
tick for tack?
Go to that church. Okay. I think we beat this one to death.
That's true because
I thank God for the wife I've been married to for the last 18 years, that God does better the second time around for me and gave me one that wouldn't step out on me. You understand? And I ain't gonna step out on her.
That's what's up.
You better not.
All right. We got a station announcement, station break.
This broadcast is brought to you by Kurt Tech Inc., a technology company specializing in computer network support.
Look at her.
Located right here in Tyrone, Georgia, but servicing the greater Atlanta area as well as Upper Alabama.
Thank you very much. Station break, station identification, promotion.
Pay the bills, little advertising.
We got to pay them bills real quick. I'd like to thank you guys for hanging in there. So we're going to move right along. Pastor Matrilla, you're welcome to hang on, and because this may have something to do with everybody on here. Does somebody else want to announce this thing? No, I need to announce this thing. What we're going to talk about.
You got it, cousin.
Okay, everybody. When you're out there walking around, you go to the grocery store, Publix, maybe not Publix, maybe Walmart, maybe not Walmart, maybe Kroger, and you see people with them bonnets on their head and house shoes. They're coming out, bonnets, house shoes, and they got to come out and I don't know what they're buying, what, Similac? I don't know what's going on. But how do y'all feel about the bonnet being worn on the head in the middle of the day out in public? Is that a hat or is it an extension of their hair?
It's a bonnet.
I want to know.
I wouldn't let my wife go out like that, okay? I want her to always flow with a certain type of class. I think that's some hood rat, ghetto stuff, in my opinion. And these women talk about they looking for husbands. How you gonna find one looking like that?
Well, maybe they're doing it for attention, and that's how they're trying to find one.
Well, what you gonna find that's gonna be attractive to a woman that likes to walk outside, in public like that?
But what's wrong with it, though? Honestly, what's wrong with it?
I didn't say nothing was wrong with it morally. I'm saying, what are you looking for? What, I hear all these women, I can't get a man, I can't get a man, I can't get a man, but you looking like that. You understand?
Right. Or they're not going to church enough.
You can't. If I was a single man, you can't get me looking like that. I'm gonna walk right past you. Yeah, you feel me?
I feel you, ladies.
So I'm just trying to tell the ladies, if that's how y'all want to flow, enjoy being by yourselves, or enjoy a brother that doesn't have the esteem to, the self-esteem to be at a level where he wouldn't accept that, and you take that hood rat brother and you make something of him.
Maybe she just got her hair done, and she don't want. She expecting rain the next day or two.
She could put a hat on. When my wife says jacked up, she puts a hat on and she looks decent.
What if you just bought your hair, and you don't want to mess it up?
Well, what I'm saying is, what did you buy the hair for? You bought it for attention, or you bought it because you want somebody to see you looking good, but then you're walking around with a bonnet on. I mean, it makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
So what about the
flip-flops? I mean, it's the style now, these fluffy slippers, but you talking about real bedroom slippers, right? You're not talking about the
house shoes.
Yeah, that is just not gonna cut it with. Not for me, and not for the men that hang around with me. That's not what they're gonna be attracted to.
But they are very comfortable, though.
Okay, and if your comfort is more important, then you getting having the holy hookup. Hey.
Speaking of holy hookups, I'm just kidding. So. No, but some of them feel it's okay. I remember somebody at one point they kind of got banned when they talked about the bonnet, but there's a history of it being a fashion statement, head dressings or hair dressings or bonnets and stuff like that, to where I heard two different stories, and not allegedly, but I don't know what word to use there. So somebody fill in the blank, to where it was a sign of class to be able to wear a bonnet on your head. And some of the people who were inside the house.
Not those type of bonnets.
Oh, weren't those bonnets? So it was the sign of.
No, the bonnets that they're talking about fashion wise, those bonnets were more like hats or something like that. They weren't these. I don't know. It just seems like a whole fad to me, and I think the whole bonnet thing just kind of got blown out of proportion because I see a lot of people who wear those typically have the locks and things like that, and they're kind of pulled up in those, and you can still see the locks or something, but I don't know. Now it just seems like it seems more social media fad type thing to me because it just comes out of nowhere and everybody does it. And I don't know. I can't understand it, but
I've never wore one. So what are they for?
To keep your hair. To keep your hair. If if you got your hair done, you wear a silk bonnet to bed. It keeps your hair moist and in place. And
what if you just came from the hairdresser and you have a red carpet event that you got to go to in a couple hours and it's humid outside? Is that okay to wear a bonnet then?
If it's humid outside and you got it covered up, that's going to make it worse.
Even if it's silk.
I don't know. We don't. I'm in California, so we have different. You guys deal with that humidity. But I don't subscribe to wearing anything that you wear inside, house shoes, robe, pajamas, bonnet, out in public. I think it's, but they're making it a race thing now, and some of the younger generations are saying that we don't have to dress a certain kind of way to white people, which has nothing to do with race. It has to do with your own person and how you present yourself, and I know Monique spoke out about it. I'm not necessarily a Monique fan, but I agree with everything that she said. I mean, there's a place, and if you got to fly to red eye, put the bonnet on when you get on the plane and get on, when you get your seat and get your drink and nuts and get ready to go to bed, you put your bonnet on. You're on the plane. No one's going to see you, but to walk around the airport with a bonnet and house shoes, and sometimes you see them with blankets and pajamas, I just think it's tacky.
I'm gonna say this. I don't even want my wife walking around the house like that.
Wow.
I want her to. I like to see her booty running around my house. I don't want to see her, looking like Aunt Jemima. I want to, that I want to get turned on every time I look at her. So I want to allow it in my house. So
you would not allow her to wear a bonnet in the house.
That's what he said.
When I say that, we have a relationship where I'll do what she likes and she does what I like. So she knows what I don't like, so she's not going to do it. She's not going to run around.
I'm just focused on that word allow.
Well, I know you would hop on that, but
because I know your wife.
If you knew my relationship with my wife,
I do.
I could get away with the word allow because I spoil her more than most men, so I could get away with it.
So I think the thing that you said though is that she wouldn't wear that because she knows that you don't like that. You prefer her to not wear that. But I wouldn't want to
or he don't allow her. Same difference.
Well, I don't know if she would appreciate that word, so I'm not gonna say it.
Listen,
but
listen, there's some things I won't allow in my house.
I wouldn't. If I'm at home, I don't wear a bonnet at all. But I would want to wear. If I wanted to wear one in the house, I would think that I could wear one in my privacy at my home. But that's a whole nother story.
No bonnets allowed in my house.
Matter of fact, I'm going to come and spend the week, and I'm going to put a bonnet on in your house.
Listen, you can't even use
one for your wife and for Jules.
You know what?
You was here a couple of days. Did you see any bonnets?
No, and I don't wear them. I don't wear them. I don't find them useful. I mean, they don't work for me. But the people that wear them, I just think that
time and place. But there's a time and place for them.
I just think that it's tacky to wear house shoes, robe, pajamas, bonnets in public, to the grocery store, to the airport. I mean, I can see, I wear contacts. So when I fly red eye, I pop my contacts out, put my glasses on, do the same thing. You put your bonnet on, and you take it off when you get to your landing.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that look.
Yeah.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, I definitely don't understand the house shoe look.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I think AJ hit it on the head when she said it's the whole thing. They want to turn it into the race thing, and I don't have to dress this way. I guess the more I look at it, it's a rebellious spirit. It's just one thing to say, I'm against this, and this is what Black people do, and white people can't. But again, I just believe it's a fad, and as crazy as it sounds, and then when you start to see that no one's paying you attention, or you're not getting the respect you know that you should, then you're upset because now you want to say my clothes don't make me, but it's not the fact that they don't make me. They're out of order. You know, realistically, you won't wear a lingerie. Well, somebody might wear a lingerie today, but you know, it's distasteful, one, and then it shows lack of maturity. Again, we're back on maturity. We're back on ignorance, and people hate to hear the word ignorance, and they take it as such a bad thing. But it just means you're not aware. You're not aware. Teaching you something, or you're rebelling against the teaching, you know. And
I totally agree. I think you hit it on the head. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you know, at this point in time, we're so starved for something that's ours, you know, something that we do that's ours, our language, our hair, our language, everything, our clothes. And I don't know why they chose that, but it's part of that, and part of just the rebellious attitude with the younger generation, I think, more so than because, you know, born in the 60s and 70s, you know, your mama told you can't go outside like that. You can't go to the store like that. You don't wear that like that. Make sure you have on clean underwear. Make sure they don't have holes, because you might get in an accident. You might have to go to the doctor. That mentality, that generation is gone. I mean, the younger generation, the mothers is, you know, 15 years older than the kids. So it's a whole shift, you know. Grandmothers is 40 years old, you know, so it's totally different. So I think it's unfortunately it's the younger generation, I think.
I don't think that's a question.
That the clothes actually express how you feel about yourself.
Yes.
Okay. So we see what's going on, how a lot of people are feeling about themselves. They're not feeling good about themselves. They don't respect themselves.
But they don't see it that way, though.
With their pants hanging off their behind.
They don't see it that way. They see it as freedom of expression.
Yeah, it's their identity. That's how they identify themselves, because they've not learned how to find out who they are, and they don't trust who they are, because everybody's so afraid of somebody finding out what they don't have or what they can't do. And I think, again, it's a lot of, and I don't want to just put it all on social media, but they're all on social media. So if they're looking at AJ and they don't know her story, they don't know what's going on, how she got where she got, what she had, but right here looking at her, she looks like she has more than me. So because she has more than me, I have to express myself differently. I got to look different. I got to act different and do all these things. But in actuality, you're really just afraid. All of this stuff says you're afraid of something. So you got to use something to give you that cover up, because you're so afraid.
Afraid of not being good enough. Yeah. And not, you know, I mean, the whole bonnet thing can really, you can really get real deep into why people, you know, like you said, because it's just not being, it's a sense of, this is what I want to do. It's my self-expression. You can't tell me what to wear. You can't tell me how to present myself. I feel good about me. You know, like Curtis says, you know, he put it on, but they don't feel good about themselves. They don't see it that way. They think that they got high self-esteem. Whereas your pants, I mean, you know, that's.
If you ask some of them, said, okay, well, tell me who you are. Tell me who you are outside of the clothes. Don't tell me anything about your clothes. Don't tell me anything about your hair. Tell me who you are. How do you identify with what makes you who you are? Tell me something. And most of them, I'm willing to bet 95, probably 97% of them could not tell you something about themselves that makes them who they are besides their clothes. If you just strip them naked, who are you? They wouldn't be able to tell you who they are.
Well,
they would.
Not coming from an ignorant point of view or stance, but who really dictates? I know me growing up in the 60s, being born in the 60s, being told a bunch of stuff, right?
Right.
where did that information come from, and why was it told to us the way it was told to us, and how we're supposed to follow it? Who makes up the rules on what you can and cannot do and what you should be wearing out in public? And like you said, it seems like we're picking this, or certain races picking this, and we are looking at it like, what generation is it that's saying you shouldn't be doing that?
Well, Big Mama said that you can't wear that. Medea said that you can't wear that.
Right.
Ma Catherine, my grandmother, said that you ain't wearing that. But there are no more Big Mamas and Medeas, and so that's where that comes from.
But I think some of them got their information, and they were telling us that because they were so afraid of saying, it's okay to do that. They were so afraid of how they were going to be seen, or how we were going to be seen out in public, that somebody told them that may not look like them that they shouldn't do that, and there's a negative connotation. So now they tell us, Big Mama's telling us, that's not right. Don't wear a bonnet out. And is it really that bad? I understand the house shoe thing, because now you're just carrying all that stuff into your house. I believe you come into the house, you take off your shoes.
Right at the door.
Right at the door, because you don't want to track in all that stuff that you done stepped in, and then when you're wearing house shoes all through the house, and now you're taking that into the bathroom.
Yeah,
I can understand the house shoe thing. The bonnet thing, every time I see a bonnet, I get hungry because I think of pancakes. But that's just me. So I may be going to the store for something, see somebody with a bonnet on, like, oh, I need some pancake mix. They reminded me I need some syrup. Now I need some ketchup and some mustard.
So is the connection Ain't Your Mama?
Yeah.
Right. That's the connection.
Oh, never mind.
I see what you're saying though, Curtis. Who makes the rules? But I think the rule is just set, like AJ said. If you have on clothes that you're supposed to wear to bed, you don't get fully dressed and get in the bed to go to sleep. So there are clothes you wear to bed if you sleep in clothes, and then that's like saying, okay, if there are no rules to what you can wear, don't put on any clothes and just go outside. Then
see what happens.
Just and go outside. But most people can't even if it was a law that says that you can go out like that, most of them are not comfortable with their bodies to even go out without any clothes on. So there is there's some rules, and it's not to say that one race made up a rule or another, but it's just common sense. If you get fully dressed to go to work, you're not going to sleep in your work clothes. So why would you wear your pajama clothes to work, or to the airport, or to someplace that is where working people are? That makes no sense. I'm okay with ripped up jeans, t-shirt. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you're talking about a bonnet and house shoes and slippers and robes. I saw somebody with the robe on. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. So again, I can only say it's about trying to get numbers, because everybody has something they want to post on Instagram or Facebook so that they can be seen. But they want to be seen because this is their identity. I have no other way to get attention, and I don't know how to ask for that attention. So why not just go to AJ house with my robe on?
Don't come over here. Yeah.
What about going to court in pajamas?
Well, that's not acceptable. You won't even get in the courtroom.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope they're not the ones facing the case. Because if I'm a judge, I'm going to rule against you just for the stupidity of you coming in my courtroom dressed like that.
It's disrespectful. It would be considered disrespectful.
Do I need to go through the list?
Yeah, it would be disrespectful. Very, very.
Do I need to go through the list of who's done it? That we know who's done it?
Be upset if somebody else showed up and did the same thing. They would really be upset. If they went to a restaurant and saw somebody come out with pajama pants on and a robe, they'd lose their mind. They wouldn't know what to do. So, just attention.
I have a good sort of example. I have some gorgeous nieces, and growing up, I'm originally from New York, so we spent our summers in Virginia, And every first Sunday in August is called First Sunday in August. And the whole family comes and it's a family reunion and it's a big deal. And it's like Easter Sunday. It's bigger than Easter Sunday for my family and for the people in Virginia. So a couple of years ago, we had our family reunion and my niece, young niece, came for the first time. So we were over at my cousin's house and I thought about it. I don't think, because here, now you can wear pants to church and it's very comfortable. You come as you are type of situation. So I said, you know what? I better ask her, what does she have to wear for Sunday, for Sunday. So I said, what are you wearing tomorrow? And she was like, I got something in there, and yeah, I got something. I said, well, let me see. She said, Auntie, for what? I said, because I want to make sure it's presentable. I'm going to act as my grandmother, your great grandmother, Catherine. So she got a little offended, but what she pulled out was a spaghetti strap. Oh. Yes, a spaghetti strap dress. And I said, oh no. I said, you can't wear this. You can't wear that. So we were the same size. So I had been on a business trip. So I had a few dresses. I was there for a week. I had a few things that she could pick from and wear, and she did. And after the service, she apologized because she said she just didn't know, but she's sure glad that I had something for her to wear, because she would have been embarrassed because they're wearing. I said, this is the South. We're not in California. This is the South, and they're coming with fully, So, and my aunt she always made sure we had tights, we had right outfits, and those days don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore here. Oh, well, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but I knew that I'd better question what she had, because it was a tight fitting spaghetti strap dress that you would wear to a club. And that would have been, that probably would have been an embarrassment to my mother and the whole family probably at that point. But it's just the generation just doesn't see anything wrong with what they want to wear out in the streets.
Is it okay to dress down? Is it okay to dress down for church now?
It's okay to wear. It's okay to wear pants and to churches out here.
Right. But remember when it wasn't okay?
Yeah.
So that's what the things with these bonnets and these house shoes. I mean, who's to say what the rule?
But it depends on what your dress down is. Like she says, spaghetti straps, but you can dress down and still be presentable at church. You can still dress down and do that.
I was going to a church here in Atlanta, and I really liked it. It lasted about an hour, and you could take your coffee in and wear your tennis shoes with some pretty good, long, in shorts. Not raggedy shorts, but you know how I could just walk around during the course of the day, and that was okay. Mm-hmm. And that's like, wow, I'm wearing like a t-shirt or a button-down shirt, 3 buttons and some shorts, walking in with coffee, and that's okay. I know, is that, times have changed, when you used to had to wear Sunday shoes. And then you got to take those shoes off because they were only for Sunday.
You're right. Times have changed. So I think it's a good change, because we don't need all that stuffiness in church anymore.
Distraction.
Yes. Yeah. Folks be suited and booted, and it's a fashion show.
Exactly.
And spending all their money on their outfits, and then they put $1 in the plate.
Mm. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. My uncle has a saying that he says, you always see the women all dressed in the long dresses and everything down to the floor with the hats, but long dresses come up just like short dresses. So it's,
sometimes fast.
Right.
Sometimes fast.
Right. So I do agree.
I've seen it all through the years, so trust me. Yeah. They'll have nothing on under that long dress.
It'd be hot.
And they drop one drop, and then you stand there.
It's a journey, right?
Next thing you know, you're suing somebody for $6 million.
But
wow.
I guess it's we over an hour. Huh?
Yeah. I'd like to thank everybody for hopping on. Those who are watching live, I want to appreciate thank you very much. Those who want to watch us later on. And just a reminder that in a couple of days, you'll be able to catch this on all forms of podcasts, Apple, Amazon. Thanks to Matrilla, she helped me get all that together. So all my broadcasts can be converted over to podcasts. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I hope you really enjoyed it. Go on later on, make your comments, tell us what you think about, wearing muffin hats or bonnets and house shoes and whatever else you want to wear to the stores that you go to, and about pastors dipping, and somebody brought up Peter and whoever else in the church. So take it as you may, and we want to thank you and come back. What we're going to do is Tuesday nights. We're going to figure out when.
I'll be as many as I can. I don't think I can commit to all of them.
There you go. We're going to figure out a schedule for the Cousins Corner. We want to thank everybody for hopping on the Cousins Corner tonight with AJ, Cousin Jeff, and special guest Matrilla. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.